Good evening and welcome to the Learning Pro Live. I'm Cath Ellis and I have got a great guest with me today. I'm so looking forward to introducing him. We are going to be talking about gamification in learning. And I know that this is a topic that a lot of you are very interested in. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my friend, Stephen. Welcome, Stephen.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Well, Stephen, for those of you who don't know, introduce yourself, will you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. And you're from the game agency, so tell us a little bit about the game agency.
You bet. So yeah, my name is Steve Baer. I founded the game agency back in 2007. So right before a recession, which is always a good time to start a company. And about 13 years later, we are a small company. We're about 50 people here in the US. We have two offices, one right outside New York City in Stamford, Connecticut, and one out in Seattle, Washington. And the neat thing is really we're focused on two categories, building out games for both corporate education as well as K through 12 education. We do a lot of custom software development, but we also have a few platforms which I'd love to share with you guys today for people to build their own games turnkey. And the primary one is called the Training Arcade. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys, I met Steve. Steve, we're friends. I can call you Steve.
You can call me Annie. I've been called a lot worse.
Well, we met 3 years ago at DevLearn, and I did some sound effects before. And honest to God, guys, this is what it was like around their booth at the expo hall at DevLearn. Everyone was just ooh. It was just absolutely ram-packed with people who just their minds were just like, you know. And they've got such a neat offering. And I thought it would be really great to have you come on and show basically what you've got and talk a little bit about the partnerships that you've had over the last few years, because I've watched you guys go just like the clappers. Now, we've got a gentleman here who's tuned in, and he is always tuning in, and his name is Tom. So how you doing, Tom? Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've got questions for Stephen, let us know, and we're just we're going to keep going the way that we always do. So Steve, so why don't you start with talking about the Training Arcade? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, you bet. So the history, and I'll do a lot of show and tell because I think it's sometimes best to just get your hands on it. The history is we've been building out custom games for years, and we found that a lot of people understand the value of games, right? They are a lot more engaging than your typical training, right? Because they require you to actively participate with the content. They're a lot more fun. They drive a lot of repetitive behavior, and as a result, they're drilling the information in. The one challenge with games is they take time and they're expensive, right? And so we were trying to figure out how do we solve for that. And what we launched, and I'll bring this up. Let me just share my screen real quick.
Yep.
Is the Training Arcade. So the Training Arcade is a platform that includes, and I'll show you the, just some marketing stuff, but then I'll show you the back end so you can really get your hands on it. Includes 9 different games. So we have the exclusive rights to Jeopardy for corporate training and K through 12 education. And for those who are not familiar with Jeopardy in the US, Jeopardy is a really very popular game show. Has tens of millions of active viewers on a weekly basis on TV.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's in its 37th season. So I mean, it's like pretty amazing that the IP has remained that strong for that long, right? But
yeah,
we have an endless jumper. So going from game shows to really more addictive gameplay. Thinking about jumping from platform to platform, answering questions, avoiding obstacles. And this is really nice because it starts to weave together some Q&A, and I use this really more for assessment purposes, but with gameplay, real gameplay. And that, I'll talk about stats a little bit, but that one will drive people to play 5-6 times because of intrinsic motivation. It actually really wants people want to just do the best at the game. It's less about I think the content, but the reality is, as a result, you're drilling that content into their brains.
Yeah.
I would say the same, by the way, for this game as well. And I won't say that for everything, but Match 3, if you're familiar with Candy Crush, same concept, right?
Yeah.
It's about matching 3 or more images and, getting points along the way. And we ask questions before and, during levels. And what's interesting is, and I'll show a slide on this, we really talk about often what mechanics align most effectively with what learning objectives. And I think that's really important because I don't think you can just always do games for game's sake, right? We have a trivia game, so that's probably pretty self-explanatory. Like all of our games, it has certain things that you'd expect, right? It has a point system, a leaderboard system. It has a streak system. So congratulations, Cath, you've gotten 2 right, 3 right, 4 right in a row, right? Just to incentivize you to keep going. It has a timer system. All this stuff you can adjust on the back end, and I'll show you that. We have scenarios, which is more for soft skills. So thinking about sales training or customer service or even management training or negotiations, going down different paths with different characters and really navigating a situation and seeing how it plays out based on the actions that you're taking.
Yep.
So that game, you can really determine the outcome. This next game is called Detective, and we just launched it, and I'm really excited about it. And we're doing a
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, this is actually very cool because this one's more about business analysis, right? So I would say that scenarios and Detective are our deepest games, right? And what's really neat about this is we have I'm seeing some pharmaceutical companies using this to really start to diagnose patients and understand patient profiles. But I'm also seeing some one major, which we'll be announcing shortly, one major business school here in the US is taking a number of their business school case studies on the sales and marketing side and using this to really bring them to life, right? So thinking about how do you tell the story of what's happened, who are the competitors, what are the products, and what are the linkages between things that have happened and what are the root causes behind different things that have happened to help someone really analyze where things went right, where things went wrong, and how that impacts decisions in the future. So
that sounds really great.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I'll bring up some show and tell on this as well.
Yeah.
So the next one's Scramble. So if you think about Wheel of Fortune, another US TV show, but without the wheel, right? It's about dragging and dropping different letters, different words, one at a time. And what I like about this is it is probably one of our simplest games, but it requires the player to really think through the content and be able to spell it out. If you can say it, you understand it. And if you can't, you're just guessing, right? So I love this, right? 2 last ones, Recall, very simple. We'll basically flash an image or we'll flash a video, and you have to digest it as efficiently and as effectively as you can, and then answer questions. You can always go back for different hints. And last one is Sort It, so dragging and dropping into different categories in different order. And this is, in my mind, more about prioritization, about categorization, identifying things. So they all really speak to different learning objectives. And so that's the background of the games themselves. And I can show you the back end next, but I wanted to give that, set the stage with that. I think that helps.
So the training agency, that's the Training Arcade, is that part of the eLearning Brothers pack?
So that
a different thing?
So they sell it separately. We've been working with eLearning Brothers since we launched this. We launched the Training Arcade actually 3 years from next month. And eLearning Brothers was one of our first. I believe actually they were our first reseller partner. They have been a phenomenal partner, and not only in selling, but also really helping us identify where there's opportunity and need in the marketplace. So they've been selling this. It is not part of their current suite. While it is incredibly cost effective, and I can go through pricing, it is a markup from their current suite, which is amazing, by the way. The amount of stuff that they offer for how much they charge is incredible, especially with the combination with Tribantis. It's fantastic.
The reason that I asked was I did know that the last time I looked on the eLearning Brothers website, there was obviously the game agency. There was a component on the website Has been a while since I've been on there, though, so I'm pretty sure that things might have changed. But I just was wondering if all of these offerings were still part of the eLearning Brothers. But anyway, continue. This looks so good. I can't wait for you to show kind of what this looks like and what kind of customizations people can make to this. And talk a little bit maybe about how people are using it.
Yeah, by all means, by all means. So I'm going to just show you. So one of the things, let's just start with analytics, because I think that's really important. For all of our games, we are tracking not only just the top line information like number of players, average score, total sessions, completed sessions, the length of time people are spending, the level of accuracy, because I think that data is really critical. But then we're getting a step or two deeper. So let me just bring up a game, right? So the first thing we're doing is I'll start by saying here are all of our default fields, right? But you can add any field you want. So if you say, and I'll show you how to do that, if you say I want to understand my player's performance by role or responsibility or region or whatever, you can track all that stuff, which is really nice. So let's just quickly look at total sessions, see if we can find someone who has played. All right, well, this game doesn't have a lot of sessions, but we can see that this person has played. Oh, this is a bad example because they barely answered anything. Let's find someone who's hopefully actually really answered. Another bad example, but we'll use this one anyway. So you can see that this person has played two games. We've seen that they've only answered 2 questions, right? But each time you'll be able to see, and let's find an example that's better, because I think that will bring it to life.
Okay.
Let's see, IT security, and total sessions. So this person, let's look at this guy. Hopefully this is good. So with this, you're going to be able to see across the board how many attempts they've done, hopefully a lift in performance. We've seen that there's a 64% lift on average across all of our games from the first attempt to the third attempt of answering things. And not terribly surprising, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, we're reinforcing that information into people's brains, right? And so the more that we're doing that, the more accurate they're going to be. But the other thing that's nice is you can quickly look down to the individual question and understand, hey, which one of our questions do people understand and which ones don't they, right? So if we see that only 31% of the people understand this concept, well, let's talk about it right here and there, right? So this is all real-time data available, and you can use this really from looking at assessments and prior to a course and saying, what do people know so I can make the most effective course to address it? Or where I think it's fantastic, or post assessments as well. But where I think it's great is we have a few games that are used for online group play. So in the era of COVID, we're seeing that, especially with our Jeopardy game and our trivia game, you can have whether it's 20 people or 200 people. We've done up to 1,000 people simultaneously playing our games with a facilitator, and you can real time see, oh, hey, John, thank you for joining. You got that one right, and you got it right the fastest. So why don't you tell us what question you want to do next? Oh, Jane, sorry, I see that you've gotten 3 in a row wrong. Or, hey, let's just take a break here and look at the data. I see that only 20% of the people here understood this last question. Let's talk about it, right? So I think that's super powerful. So this is really nice in that you can look down to the data individual things. I'm going to jump into a game and show you how easy it is to build one. Let's open this up. We'll do edit this game. So a few things that all of our games offer. Just maximize the screen size. So the first thing is, as I mentioned, with Jeopardy and trivia, we have either single player, right? That's just going to be me playing in an e-learning mode, or instructor-led, which has been gangbusters, not only for training, but for just meeting facilitation these days. It's a great way to actually drive an agenda and actually make sure that everyone who's on their 18th Zoom for the day is actually participating, right?
Yeah.
So you name your game, it automatically creates a URL. You can determine the length of time that you want to give people to answer questions. You can determine if there's a pass-fail percentage. You can add a URL for the end of the game for people to be able to push that information out If you want more information on this, go here, right? You can, and I'm just realizing that our Jeopardy game is missing a few things. So like, for instance, some of our games have Slack integrations or Twitter integrations, also have the ability to turn on or turn off just a tutorial, right? Here's where, cool. Yeah, really just simple stuff, right? But here's where you can type in, just in our little WYSIWYG, some information to give some context as to why you're playing this game, right? This game is all about employee onboarding. We want you to focus on X, Y, and Z, just to give them some context as they come in, right? A few other things, you can turn on a pre-authorized player list if you have that. You can also integrate with single sign-on if you have that. Or you can do a registration, a customized registration. So we have existing fields, or you can say, you know what? So I was mentioning earlier, I want to do this based on region, and I'm going to do allow someone to either type in what region, or I think more effectively offer a drop down, right? And with that drop down, I can do East Coast, I can do West Coast, so on and so forth. And as soon as let's just put this South, I think I created that field. And as soon as I do that, I can put that in, and I can also have this show up on the leaderboard if I wanted to. So not only can Steve Baer see that I'm, in 48th place, but I can also see that even though I'm doing really bad, the South region is kicking butt, and we're in first place, right? So
yeah, it's great.
And speaking of leaderboard, you can turn that on or off, right? The other things you can do, you can basically, with Jeopardy, because it happens to be an intellectual property, we limit the number of templates. But with most of our games, you can upload a variety of templates, or choose from templates rather. You can upload your logos, and basically then you get going. And creating these games are really easy, right? So I'm happen to be in Jeopardy, which has multiple categories, but you basically will choose how many categories you want. You'll type in the name for each category, and you can upload images, videos, or audio as clues. You can type in your questions. You can choose a variety of answers, and you can choose feedback. And let's see if I can find one. Hopefully that has it. I don't know if there's one here that does. You can also add advanced feedback, which is nice. So the reason I bring this up is I love this, Cath, because you can not only, and you can do pre-roll videos, which is nice too. So you can use this as a teaching opportunity. Let me just show you this particular video. Let's then, let me ask you guys some questions about it. Oh, here's some quick feedback. And let me reinforce that with this information. So it can be a teaching opportunity, not just an assessment opportunity, right? And so these games are really easy to build. With most of our games, we have 5 question types: multiple choice, multi-select, text input, polling, and image match. And then the last part is publishing out. The games can be available as a URL that can just basically put in as a web object right into any of your courses you're building in rapid authoring tools. We have 2 SCORM outputs, or you can do an embed code and pop it right into any website.
We actually had a question from Valentina, and she said, "Hi from Brisbane. Thanks for the much awaited topic. Question bugging me, how would you incorporate game elements, game mechanics into a course outside of corporate platforms, for example, Udemy?" Well, that's exactly what you just said there. So using embedding codes, it's, really great.
It's super. What we wanted to do with this platform is make sure that you could build a game in 30 minutes or less and take it to go. And so we play really well in the sandbox with any of the major authoring tools, really, dozens and dozens of LMSs, more than dozens. And quite honestly, you can put this on any, internal, website or external website that you want. I mean, it's really straightforward. Yeah.
So going back to Valentina for a second, if this was something that was being embedded in, though, it wouldn't be integrated in with Udemy, though, would it? So it's not going to be able to.
No. So there's a few things. I mean, it would sit there, right? And basically, it would be iframed into the site. But the data would not transfer. If you want the data to transfer, you'd want to do a SCORM package, and that way that's really easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So if you've got any more questions about that, Valentina, keep it coming so that we can ask Stephen while he's here. So that looks great. Do you want to show us a bit more? So
Cath, the one thing I just wanted to mention is, I'm just see if I can grab a game that has this. Just grab Jump, it's easy. All of our games, with the exception of Jeopardy, which is actually about to have this, but all of our other games allow you to translate in up to 16 different languages, which is really nice.
Oh, that's good.
So hopefully you can see this as I'm doing it. It's really, really simple. So basically you create the game. This game happens to have a variety of questions in it. So come on, computer, you can do it. So there we go. Okay. So as you build it, you basically would open it up really simply, and you can see this part as well. Cath, just to confirm.
Yes.
All right.
I can.
So here are all the questions that you've written and all the feedback you provided, and then basically what you would do is you would localize. You basically grab this template. You'd pop all the information in for any language that you want to add to it, and then you would upload it right back into the platform. And what's really nice is then on the splash screen, when you come to the game, it would default to whatever language you want it to default to, and it would give you the option to pick from any of the other languages. So really easy. Yeah, really, really easy to do. So one of the things I'm excited to show is, as I mentioned, this has been really to take your games on the go, bring them wherever you want. But we've been working for now just about a year on the next iteration of the Training Arcade, and that is I'll just bring this back up. Come on, there we go. So that is arcades, and arcades is basically our destination, right? And this destination, by the way, doesn't have to be self-standing. It can sit in any of your LMSs. It can sit in your intranet. It can sit on any website. It plugs in really nicely, much like our games. But it brings the games to life. This is the level of gamification, or above and beyond each individual game. This one allows me to say, hey, Stephen has now played 42 games, and by the way, he's number 3 on the leaderboard. And but what's nice about this above and beyond that is not just looking at me. It allows me to come in and quickly challenge one of my colleagues and say, hey, Brian, I just got this score. Can you beat it, right? So it starts to not just have a push from the top down, but from colleague to colleague, and start to hopefully encourage people to really engage and compete and digest the content on a deeper level. Also allows you to come in and do daily spin and wins and other activities, so you can get additional points really for doing almost nothing, right? Which is great. And then allows you to look at leaderboards not only overall. So here's a global. I'm number 2, but you can also get down to any individual game. You can also customize your avatar. So we have a variety of pre-populated avatars that you can choose from, or you can customize your own, which is really neat. And then we have a level of achievements as well that you can collect over time for doing different things, right? That's either for accuracy or repetitivity or otherwise. So this has been, we have just started to roll this out, and the adoption has been fantastic. Really, really exciting stuff. So
that's great. And what kind of organizations have embraced this? Has it been schools? Has it been, organizations?
Yeah,
you don't have to go into give us any names, but different industry types would be useful.
It's a great question. So, so my vision for this is schools are going to be hopefully something big for this, right? I think that this is fantastic for students. We are just starting the journey of looking for the right education partner to make that happen. And until we find that, we're not actively targeting that on our own. The primary companies have been large Salesforce organizations, right? So pharmaceuticals, when it comes to the Training Arcade or even this arcades, have been really early adopters and active adopters, right? Large media companies, finance companies, high tech companies, but really it could be anywhere from a Salesforce of 50 people to a sales force of 5,000 people. But also we're seeing that people in the customer service space are using both platforms. There's one company that is in the customer service space that has over 300,000 employees actively using our games. So super exciting to see that level of adoption.
Yeah. And Tom, it's not a boring question, Tom, but Tom said, quick boring question. Do you plan to include Tin Can XAPI publishing as well as SCORM in the future?
So yes. So obviously we're focused on SCORM early on, but as you can see, as we continue to integrate with more and more platforms, XAPI is, I think, critical, right? I mean, it tells the full story, or as I should say, it plugs into the full story. And we're data geeks here. We really think that our games and our platform serve two purposes. The first one is it makes the content a lot more engaging. But I think the second one is, and probably equally as important, it gives the employer and the employee a real understanding of what people know and where there's opportunity for knowledge growth. So yeah, that is big on our list, and that's something that is in the works. Not a boring question.
If someone goes to the training arcade, is it transparent with regards to pricing, or is it something that they need to go to you for quotes?
No. We try to be really, I'll just bring it up. We try to be really clear about that. We are actively talking about reworking our pricing right now. But today, the way the pricing works is you can subscribe to an individual game. These are annual prices, right? An individual game. So if you say, I want Jeopardy, you can build 5,000 instances of Jeopardy. Great, go for it, right? And that is up to 2,500 learners. It is currently $1,500 a year to use that. Or if you say, you know what, I want all 9 of your games, it's $6,000, and you can build, once again, as many instances as you want for of those 9 games. So that is up to 2,500 learners. And then there's enterprise, which is unlimited number of learners. So we have some organizations that I mentioned that have over 100,000 learners using our games, right? And that requires bandwidth on our side to serve up the games.
To host that, yeah.
To host that, exactly. So we charge basically double for that. And that comes with one admin, and every additional admin, creator, if you will, above and beyond these prices is $500, regardless of the package you have. The other thing worth mentioning is that arcades, this does not include arcades, this is the training arcade, the builder itself. Arcades is an additional $10,000. That's our destination. Once again, whether you have 100 players or 1,000 players or whatever, right? So So that is the pricing. We try to be very transparent about it. We do offer discounts for nonprofits and for educational organizations. And it's basically a 33% discount off of our list price. Cool. The other thing worth mentioning is that we're seeing more and more companies, probably less important for this audience, but we see more and more companies starting to use these games for marketing purposes. And we do make it available for that as well, but with a license fee is a 3 times multiple of this, because we're seeing a lot more users in many of those cases. So it just covers our bandwidth costs. So
So Valentina did probably the perfect segue, Stephen, into what I know we're going to talk about next, which is, besides bringing games into learning, what mechanics or elements prove to be effective amongst busy adult learners learning something on the side. So I know we're going to talk a little bit about this is one offering, Valentina, that the game agency have. So these standalone games, but that, if you look at the website, they are nerds from the core, right? I mean, I don't know. I didn't ask you how old you were, and you were nice enough to not ask me, but I'll tell you, I'm in the age group of Spectrum ZX and Commodore 64,
sounds like my childhood. That sounds good. That sounds right.
So, I was like 6 maybe when my dad brought home a Spectrum ZX, and I've got the book on my shelf, if you'll believe, and you would sit and you'd type out all this code, and you could create Pong or something like that, you know. So what these guys did, Valentina, was they just were nerds that came together and were like, right, you know, we've grown up with games and they built up. So they have an offering of custom development that is just phenomenal. And I was talking to Stephen just before we started about Demo Fest at DevLearn last year. I was also doing a presentation, so I couldn't see it. And I was also presenting the year before and I couldn't see what they did. But their stuff is primo, so I can't wait to see what you're going to show us, Stephen.
Yeah, well, so and by the way, I should have mentioned, yeah, we are definitely gaming geeks, which is, you know, probably be expected from a company called the Game Agency.
Yeah.
Before my partner and I started this company, we both were at Atari. So when you said Pong, if I was brought a smile to my face. I was director of marketing there, and he was director of licensing, and we were, you know, basically not only putting out games in the marketplace as publishers that were, you know, in many cases really fun. I worked a lot on the Dungeons and Dragons and Neverwinter Nights category and some of their sports games. But we started building custom games as well for brands. And if you look at the origin of our company, and I don't actually have a lot to show on that today, but in the first several years, we were building a lot of custom games for other publishers, Electronic Arts, Activision, Ubisoft. We did a lot of stuff with LucasArts, but we, you know, as we started the Game Agency, but we also started building a lot of marketing games. We did a lot of stuff for Hasbro. And so what's really fun is we've been able to take a lot of that commercial and marketing game experience and bring it into the L&D space and really jazz up a space that I think is looking to have a fun, engaging way of you know, really bringing learners into the content. So
yeah,
just I'll show. This is I'll start with actually just some of this stuff. This is all on the K through 12 space, and this is actually a lot of what we show at the Demo Fest because these budgets are nice budgets and they allow us to do really neat stuff. I'll start with this guy. I think. Yeah, this guy. This is an early lit game. I'll just I think I just have a loop of video, but this is an early lit game focused on, you know, kindergarten through second graders here in the U.S. and now we've localized this into a bunch of countries, but allows you to really tell a story through a whole bunch of silly characters and have someone. You can choose your helper along the way, and then you're playing a variety of mini games, and that's, you know, ultimately I'm a big believer in mini games. That's where, as an adult, I actually engage in games. I'm not a big console gamer, but if I can find 5-10 minutes to just, you know, close my mind down, yeah, exactly, and just turn my mind off from, you know, everything else that's going on in the world, fantastic. And that's what a lot of these are, right? So these are little drag and drops. These are, you know, little identification. These are side scrollers. I'm going to fast forward through some of these, but you can kind of see just like the, you know, simplicity of these, right? But they're really easy and really fun and humorous, you know, and that's a lot of also what we think about, whether it is focused on little kids or adults. How do you bring some humor and how do you bring a smile to people's faces as they're dealing with your content, right? So, you know, complete this and have a, you know, go dance party. I mean, it's quite honestly, it's silly, right? But what you just did, that giggle is exactly what we're trying to get, right? We want people to think that was fun. I might do that again, either because it was fun or because I want to beat my score. Regardless of the reason, you're hopefully drilling the information into their brains, right? So, so this,
and especially for kids, this is just phenomenal, you know.
And it's fun. It's fun. It's what they experience in you know, their out of school work lives, and you want to make sure that you're giving them something that doesn't feel tedious, doesn't feel forced, you know, feels age appropriate, and has a level of humor that's appropriate for them, right? So so that's that. I will just show my links open. We've done stuff anywhere from you know, financial education to health education, social skills. LinkedIn actually is fantastic. They underwrote where is it? Do I have it here? They underwrote a course that's focused on social skills. Maybe I don't have it. Oh yeah, here it is. This is, let me just see if I can pull this one open. Focused on social skills for, second to fourth graders. And what's really nice about this is oops, let me take the sound off real quick. So this one's really nice. It allows young kids to start thinking about the relationships they have with their peers, and goes through a whole bunch of stories, small simulations of things that they might be experiencing on the playground, might be experiencing in the classroom, and really has them start to understand the repercussions of the decisions they're making, right? And how they're impacting their peers, right? So we looked at earlier that scenarios game. I know, at least in the list of games in the Train Arcade, same concept, right? You can play through different scenarios here and see how your behaviors are impacting others and how it might impact the situation. So I love
right
this
now
stuff.
in the world, especially in America, what is going on right now?
You hit a point where I'll keep my mouth shut on that, but I couldn't agree with you more.
This will be me and you offline later.
Yeah, exactly. We can definitely complain about all the things that are going on in our country right now.
But it's so important. It's so important.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna hopefully learn to like each other again in this country and across the world. Maybe we'll learn how to be a global society again at some point. But I think it starts with stuff like this.
This was a Demo Fest winner, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. We've been really, fortunate. We've had wonderful stuff to show, and it's neat whether it's K through 12 or it's corporate education. We've been very lucky in winning a lot of awards for that work. So, yeah.
And Valentina's like, she's just said, I can't wait to hear more, and she's like, I love it, which is great. And guys, if you've got questions, I'm going to ask questions in a minute. So I want to make it clear to you guys that these guys are not building in an authoring tool like Articulate Storyline. They're building in their own proprietary tool. So that's right, isn't it?
That is correct. So all the stuff I'm showing you here is custom work that we're building. It's either in our tools or it's using other things like Unity or whatnot. I'm going to show you, this one's a great example. The National Hockey League, let me just make sure that sound is off on this. The National Hockey League underwrote this, and this is focused on STEM education. So how do you educate kids about speed, angles, temperature, velocity through a topic that might be interesting to them, right? So I'm going to just fast forward here. You can play as any of the 30 somewhat hockey teams, and you basically are going to go through a variety of lessons. I'm going to just my Wi-Fi, I guess, is not going as fast as I'd like it to, but basically here's a great example of an angle
this
lesson,
is great.
right? And you can play as any as a 30, and the whole idea is to get to a place where you are going to get to the Stanley Cup and ultimately win the championship, because you now aced 12 different concepts, right? So I like this because it, once again, plays to people's passion points. And it brings the content to life in a contextual way, right? So fine, here's one focused on speed, right? I think that this guy is, it's just the instructions, but this is all built in. We've done, I think this is a combination of Unity and oh goodness, I'm blanking. It's these are all everything we use is, or a lot of things we use are platforms that are available in the marketplace. It's obviously just a lot of custom work on top of it. So but I love this because, once again, it takes something that maybe is personally of interest to people and brings it to life. So
let's just say that, here you go. Tom's got a question. He says, all the hours I've spent working with developers in Unity, this tool is going to save the industry so much time. And you're absolutely right, Tom. I mean, I was actually just going to say, as a freelancer, I'm often approached to offer different solutions that I don't have the capability of coming up with. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, we've got another question as well. Janet asked, she's tuning in from LinkedIn. Hi, Janet. She says, hi, could you personalize the language? For example, change the instructions to Spanish. So yeah, Janet, just previously, Stephen did go through that. And I'm sure if something was a custom build, like this is a custom build, they would just build that in as well.
Exactly. So with the training arcade, we have 16 languages available in there. And so what does that mean, right? That doesn't mean that we know what content you're going to put in, but that means for all of our games, the start button, the congratulations button, the leaderboard button, everything that exists, and there are dozens and dozens of text areas, those are all pre-populated into 16 languages. And then once you've written your game using the training arcade in your default language, we offer you a template to just download real quick, put in the localized versions of that text, and upload it right back in. And as soon as someone comes to play, on that splash screen, they have a drop-down menu that says, what language do you want to play in? It asks in whatever your default language is. So you can choose any of them to be your default, and people can choose from as many as you make available. Really, really easy to do. Go ahead, Cath. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so it would presumably change all of the, like every single iteration of that language. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. And obviously the work that we've done, it already has that work done on all the preset buttons and feedbacks and all that type of stuff. And then any of the questions, the answers, the feedback, the advanced feedback, all that stuff, as long as you put that into the template, it updates that as well. Yep.
Cool.
And then the same concept when it comes to these custom games, we build these games out often, whether it be K through 12 or corporate education. In I would say 50% of the time it's built out in one language, and 50% of the time it's built out in 2, 3, 4 languages. In the K through 12 space, we one of our ongoing partners is a company called EverFi, which is a large digital publisher here in the U.S. They've been on a humongous growth spurt and acquiring companies overseas. So we've been localizing a lot of our courses into, several languages. So it's interesting. While we're talking, Cath, I'm just going to show this. This is this is part of a series also on STEM education, but thinking more about career opportunities. We have built out. This happens to be one module, but we've built this out. Focused on anywhere from healthcare to factory work, to music studios, to Internet of Things, to really a whole variety of categories. But it brings to life things that you should be thinking about, different STEM topics as it pertains to different careers.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
And was that was another winner, wasn't it? I've seen this before.
Yeah, this one, I know we've won for Serious Play Conference, and I think we've won this for some Demo Fest as well. We've gotten a lot of awards from Serious Play Conference as well. But yeah, this is, and what's nice is if you think about anyone who's creating these games in Storyline or Articulate or in Captivate or Lectora, you can build some of the stuff maybe not as clean, but it also takes a lot of time. And we've tried to we at this point have a pretty well-oiled machine to pop this stuff out pretty quickly. The custom work obviously is more expensive than the templates, the training arcade games, but we've tried to make stuff available to address speed and address quality.
So let's say someone like Tom's a freelancer as well. And let's say Tom had someone reach out and say, from the Fire Brigade, we're looking for a kind of a gamified kind of experience. You guys are open to just having people reach out to you and to partner on projects and different things like that, aren't you?
Yeah, I love it. And the neat thing is, I obviously, it's always, I'm just using that example per se, right? Let's see if I can find this. This is the one I was looking for.
Okay.
If you think about the fire brigade, right? Maybe that's about scenarios. Maybe that's about understanding what do you do in different situations. So I showed you scenarios, which happens to be one of our games. This is an example of the American College of Chess Physicians. They have built.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've built a lot of things for and with them. And here's an example where they took our scenarios game. They customized the characters in it, and they told a story. And they basically had a number of doctors and a number of patient cases, and navigating different situations with them and going through those conversations, right? And understanding stuff. You could take the same concept for the fire brigade and think about what do you do in this scenario, and you can show either eLearning Brother assets, could be just images or video. It could be custom animation like this, or you can even use stuff like Beyond. I love a lot of people throw Beyond content into here and tell those stories that way, and then have someone navigate the best way to engage with it. So yeah, we love partnering with folks, but at the risk of not picking up additional revenue, a lot of the stuff you can build yourself, and that's what we try to make it available for people who have the skill and or the time. Our tool is turnkey and allows you to do a lot of that.
Well, this is great that you've shown this. I think in my mind, I was certainly very, very interested to see the level of customization to this, and seeing a corporate example as well is great. And Tom, if you've got any feedback in on this as well, I think that looks really clean. I think we've seen a lot of older stuff like the what's it called? That branch track, kind of thing.
Yeah, branch track is. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Cath. Sorry.
No, I think it's somewhat limited, and this looks like you can probably do a little bit more. This is good. You're showing the back end of this.
Yeah,
so
branch
track,
like
an instruction screen.
Yeah, and I would say branch track. I like that. I like their platform. And I think there's some lessons that we learned as we designed this particular game. What's interesting about branch track, right, is it is, and I think it's actually very well done. But it is a mechanic, right? With the training arcade, you have 8 other game mechanics, right? This happens to be one of them, right? And so, that's I think one of the things we think about is how do we build something that can be, I think there's another example. This is going to have some other stuff in it, but so just ignore the rest of it.
That's okay.
But, this is an example of a pharmaceutical company that built a full-out app, prior to a training event that they had, right? So you're going to come in, you're going to, and we actually, we do this with a lot of pharmaceutical companies and large sales forces, is what's your journey leading up to this sales meeting? Make sure that you have, really mastered these following things and be prepared to, dig in when you get to the actual event itself, right? And so, it's obviously going to have a variety of, PDFs and whatnot, or, SCORM pack, SCORM content. It's going to have some different games, but I'm trying to see if we can find it. Here's an example of that same scenarios game, but using video instead, right? And they basically just did some green screen pre-roll, put it in here, and brought it to life that way, right? So same exact mechanic we just looked at for chest, but with green screen. Here's a sort it game that we mentioned earlier, and they customized the back image, and then obviously you can see everything else here is just their regular content. So really easy. And
we had someone say, would a gamification approach be used for medical staff to learn a new medical patient admin computer system? So that I think they're talking like, systems training. I
think that there are, I think that actually, to be frank, is one of the more challenging categories to do games, right? Because I think you can certainly utilize systems. You can utilize a handful of games for system training. So like one is are you testing against recall? And actually, let me jump over to, I want to pull up a slide here that I think is an important one. By the way, for those who are not aware of it, next week, eLearning Brothers has ELBX, which is their online conference. It is free, and I'll be talking there, but probably more importantly, there are lots of people who are much smarter than me that will be talking there as well. And I encourage you guys to check it out. So this happens to be a slide from the presentation once it loads. We think a lot about what is your performance or learning objective, and then matching the right game for that, right? So to your point, systems, I think there are a handful that would, different game mechanics that might lend themselves really well. So I would say that some of these visualization games, so Recall actually might be a good one, really looking at systems, looking at different parts of it and identifying certain aspects of that. Certainly wordplay games, being able to spell out different concepts, I think are important. I'd say that potentially sorting, putting into different categories may be interesting. And then I'd say potentially you could use, depending on the forum, you could use a recall game like trivia or Jeopardy to do so. I think the question is I'm a big believer in using games to sprinkle throughout your training, as opposed to it being, hey, let's do a final assessment. I just don't think that's helpful. The value in games is really getting people's hands on with the content. So if you have a 1 hour session, maybe take 20 minutes of that to be gameplay, and maybe sprinkle it into the beginning, middle, and end, right? If you have a online session, and we've seen a lot of people using Jeopardy, especially with this pandemic, as the agenda facilitation tool. Let's go through these following 3 topics, and let's everyone engage, and let's make sure that we're celebrating what each person here knows, and let's talk about what people don't know, right? So I think that you can do that certainly on a topic like systems, which is a hard one, and make it much more interactive experience. I don't know if that answers the question, but I think this is a good way of kind of thinking about what's my learning objective, my performance objective, and what's the right mechanic for that.
And I think the sky's the limit with some of these, icebreakers and all these different kind of things. It's whatever you can conceptualize using these tools. So I'm with you as well, though. I hate summative assessments, and I'd far prefer to put little formatives. So another question I was going to ask you is, are these responsive?
Yes. Yeah. So everything in the training arcade is fully responsive, from mobile up to obviously large screens. We see them, we've designed them to be used on the go, so definitely on your phone. But we see a lot of people are using them at conferences too, right? On 80-inch screens. So we wanted to make them something that could be fun no matter where you are. Yeah.
And we've had a few questions here. So Tom said, this looks ideal for clients who want a platform they can run with once we walk away from the project. It does look nice and simple to use. The back end especially will work for those who maybe don't have time to get to grips with the traditional authoring tool. And then people are agreeing with good advice, they're saying. And someone said HTML5. Is it HTML5?
It's HTML5. And just backing up, Cath, to the comment about the traditional authoring tools, the reality is you can build a lot of this stuff in authoring tools, right? But it may take you 50 to 100 hours. We've knocked it down to 30 to 60 minutes. And so the question is, how much time and struggle do you want? And we feel like we've been able to get a lot of the polish in there to make it easier and faster for people, right?
Yeah. I say this all the time, time is money. So if you want to spend hours doing stuff, you can. But if you value your time, then, Tom says, if a client use your platform, would it be possible to have that feed the data through an external LRS or internal database? So I think he's asking, can it be exported out?
Are you talking about the game itself? You mean just the actual game file? Is that the question, Tom?
The data.
Yeah. Oh, so the data, yes. So there's a few things you can do. Let me jump back into.
He says it wrong, Tom. We know it's right. Data.
Did I say data? I said data. I'm an American. we butcher everything, especially in the last 4 years. I mean, we so I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but
no.
So to answer your question, Tom, you can export any of the data or data that we have. So there's a few ways of pushing the information through, right? So if you do a SCORM package, we can push it through that way. You can, at least the SCORM information. Or alternatively, we're capturing a lot more information on our back end, and you can export it all as a CSV file. So those are your two options.
Yeah, cool. That sounds really good. I'm trying to think. Has anyone else got any more questions for Stephen? I mean, look, certainly my bread and butter isn't K to 12. You know, it's something that I've just always been in corporate. So I'm really fascinated with how corporate businesses are using your tools. Have you got any more examples that you could?
Let's see. Let me. I've lost track of what link I have where. So.
Maura says, I agree with the statement about the last 4 years. I'm pretty sure that most of us agree.
Not everyone does, so I should keep my mouth shut. But this is a good example. So this is we have another platform called Motivate Cloud, and this is our LMS.
Okay.
And what I like about this is we've tried to really make it as customizable as possible. So what I'm showing you is not our standard version, but what we've been able to do on our side to make it more fun. So I apologize because this is going to have some, marketing stock video in here as well. But you'll be able to see real quick that we built this for IT Cosmetics, which is a division of L'Oreal.
Okay.
And let me skip ahead to some of the everything here has a level of gamification attached to it, as you kind of would expect with us. But we did a whole theme focused on the learning journey, right? And so you come to the site, it automatically opens up with this animation. You get your individual passport, which you'll see momentarily, and that has all your individual profile information, like what badges you've been able to achieve, and then what status you're at. We've built into here. Really simple stuff, right? But we built in a whole bunch of interactive experiences. Here are examples of the training arcade games that are in here. We built out this customizable EDU manual. So we've taken all their content and mapped by ingredients, by pairings, by colors, and allowed you to basically look at all their product information. We built in a social platform where people can engage with one another and ask quick questions, follow each other. We have prizes available for different performance, and that's it. I mean, but this is a good example where you can take a learning management system and bring it, probably 10 more steps to what the brand wants to show than just your standard LMS, which I think is really important.
That's really great.
Yeah, we focus a lot on that type of stuff as well. Just trying to think
got
of
a request for health services for adults, children.
Can you give me a little more information on that, Cath? What's the question on that?
We just had a request here saying any examples of health services for adults or children. I think there was an example previously that you already displayed. These case studies, they're available on your
these
website.
These are all available on our website. Yeah, exactly. So this is an older version, but maybe a good one to talk to that, right? So this was something we built with Merck Pharmaceutical, and this was targeting healthcare professionals. So a variety of folks, anywhere from doctors to nurse practitioners, social workers, but focused on someone's being diagnosed with HIV. How do you get them from diagnosis into care, right? Because there's a lot of reasons that are barriers that folks may put up. Whether it is embarrassment or logistical issues or otherwise, and how do you really talk them through those? So we had an ongoing narrator who would talk through all that. We had a variety of different games that you could talk through, but this really helps the healthcare professional help the patient really cross over that barrier. And it's I think this is a good way of doing really having those conversations start. I think the other ones I showed earlier with doctor-patient conversations by chest. We've done a lot of, done a bunch of games, which I don't have on the site here, but that focused on, actually, here's one. I have one that is focused on adherence in a really thrilling category, toe fungus. I mean, it doesn't get more exciting than that. These are the things that are going to be on my gravestone. He worked on toe fungus, right? But this is, it requires daily application, right? So how do you, make sure that someone's coming back on the daily basis, doing the right things? You have to, basically line up, different, image with your foot to make sure that you're doing it properly, play a game while it's drying, silly stuff like that, right? But, track your ongoing usage. But, this is important stuff to just bring it to life, right? So, we do a lot. I would say that healthcare is represented historically, 20-25% of our business every year. So lots of great examples. Happy to show them offline.
And that's a really nice little marketing tool. That would they? How would they promote that? Is that through like Facebook or?
So that is pushed to patients through the doctors, right? Here is the medication. Here's this is the tool, and here's a tool that you should be using to make sure that you're applying it on a daily basis and that you're actually adhering to it. And here's so like that's part of that dialogue, right? So some of the sometimes it's done through traditional marketing. I think they may have done a slight marketing push on it as well, but in this case, it was the influencer was the doctor talking to the patient and making sure that the patient understood the not just the fun aspect, but the educational and the adherence aspect to it, right?
Yeah, and even though it doesn't really matter, the client doesn't really need to, the ortho pharmaceutical don't really need to know who was the person using it, but they're getting this rich data from the back end, going, how many people have we actually got using it, and
absolutely,
the application, are they doing this every day? And
yeah, no, it's as I always say, data, or as I say here in the US, data. But yeah, no, you're absolutely, Cath, you're absolutely right. As I said earlier, I do believe that it's not just about a fun experience, but it's as much information that you can glean. Look, how much information can you glean from a PowerPoint presentation? Almost zero, right? So this is, in my mind, whether it's from a marketing standpoint, internal or external education standpoint, the information you get about your user is immense. And I think it's really incredibly valuable. Yeah.
So if any of these guys who are watching want to jump on, do you have a demo or anything? Do you have any kind of trial period?
Yeah, by all means. So if you go to trainingarcade.com, let's just go to the main part, and you go to the top right-hand corner. Come on. There we go. There's a free trial here. It's 14 days. You can play around with, build as many games as you want. Some people come and ask for an extension. That's fine too. We want you to be comfortable with the platform. It's easy. It's fun. So I encourage you to do it. And quite honestly, sometimes it's great for just enriching yourself as a professional. Sometimes it's great for just demoing something for a prospect client. And I think you'll see how quick and easy it is. And hopefully, people will use it. We've had a lot of adoption and a lot of success stories. So I appreciate you letting us share it today.
No, I mean, guys, if you're in a situation where, because I know this is, I often try and promote different tools, and sometimes it doesn't work. And then that, I might go, well, I've already done a trial period and it's expired. I'd encourage you to just reach out to Stephen, let him know what you need, or reach out to the game agency and just let them know what you need. Even if you've got a solution that comes about, these are guys who are experts in building games for education. So, you're certainly the ones that I would reach out to, Stephen, if I was in a position where I was wanting a game made. I think what you do is brilliant. And, there's going to be people who, may not be able to use some of these tools in their business right now, but in the future they might they might have the opportunity. So I think great job. You are always so inspiring every time that I meet you, and yeah.
Well, I
Great.
appreciate that opportunity. The feeling is likewise. I really enjoy just watching the stuff that you and, quite honestly, a lot of our colleagues are doing in the marketplace, and it's. I feel like the more we can learn from each other, the better, right? So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think, I'll wrap this up, guys. You've kind of all gone a bit quiet, but if you do have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I've got Stephen's details, not only for the game agency. I'll put the link as well for the pages that he was showcasing. I'll even put a link through to their Facebook page. For their YouTube page, because they've got some videos on there as well. And if you've got questions, just reach out, and either myself or Stephen will reply. So thank you so much for your time.
Well,
Stephen,
thank you,
it's
Cath.
been absolutely wonderful. And I will sign off. So thank you very much, guys. It's been great having you here, and I will bid you adieu. Thank you very much.
Right.
Bye.
Take care, all. Take care. Bye-bye.